And this a shook up your planet tectonic. As me sip up my roots and tectonic. And you can't make me jump nor get panic. Have the engine a run like mechanic. Room.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes. Wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega representing for all lions and lionesses. With the lion's voice, we come to tell our story. Ras Tafari, live it. Hey, the lion's voice, Ras Tafari.
It's AWTITUDE representing for Lion's Voice. Yes, massive. This is the time for I and I, the lion, them to tell I and I story, our story. Yes, and we reign and rule like this. Reign and rule, yeah. Selassie, I reign and rule. You can't take the lion vibes, people. If you no fool, cause we know Selassie reign and rule. Reign and rule. Selassie, I reign and rule. Queen Omega drop them in the fire. Pull from them, no Queen Omega, she reign and rule. Royal Kushite, ancient essence. Emperor Selassie in a majestical presence. Flash of all sevens. Projecting through I and I events. We sing a song for the king, we bring joy and blessing and understanding, yeah. We enter every day, hey. Reign and rule, yeah. Selassie, reign and rule. Yes, I lion vibes, Selassie, reign and rule. Attitude say that. Boondocks, Black Organization of Global Diplomats optimizing expressions to the world. Till the world, till the end.
Amina, the time has come for the lioness to tell our own story. No surrender, no retreat, we are Jaja soldier. Rougher than the streets, tougher than a boulder. Bigging up Lion's Voice. Now put it, I jolly for say that.
Yeah, David Dread of Steel Pulse, and I'm saying hail to Lion Voice because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here. Hear me now. Oh, yeah, the lion's voice. Raw.
Well, Lion Voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion Voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion Voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion Voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion Voice.
What do you have to tell the people about Ras Tafari?
Light to the world. The king of kings and the conquering lion of the tribe of Judah. I like himself. Where's my ruler? Hey yo! Yeah, hear them high, hear the black king on the 23rd of July. So tell them guy, who praise God up in the sky, it's a lie. The Almighty living on your night. From ancient time, them a try. Them Romans know them just open them suit and ties. Criminals ain't got no alibi, they stole my people. Then them come without them genocide.
Are you talking about slavery?
Them couldn't kill. The lion will come conquer Judah tribe. Go through tribulation, and I strive, see sufferation, and I still rise. That's why we tell them in America, live Rastafari in every ghetto area. We come to tell them in a Toronto, straight to Ethiopia, them youths them want go. Look how we tell them in a Jamaica, I live Lassie and the Almighty Creator. So then we tell all the youths in Rome, only one man can sit up on David's throne.
Wake up.
Greetings in that divine name of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I. Glory and honor in the name of His chosen Queen, Empress Waziri Menen. My name is Kwasi Bansu, aka the Chazmach Kwasi, aka Ras Kwasi, aka the Reading Ras, aka the Pan-African Happy Man, creative industry attorney. I'm an artist, I'm an author, I'm an actionist, and right now I am the host of Lion Talk Live. Welcome to Lion Talk Live, and welcome to the Lion Voice Network, where the lions are telling our own story. We are taking forward the narrative. We are controlling what is put out about I and I. This is the uprising. We have a mighty show. This evening we're going to honor one of our legends. And we have a very special guest coming from the same family tree. It's going to be a mighty show. I just want to big up all of the Lion Pride. We are growing very rapidly here on the Lion Voice Network, and I really want to just take time and big up the Lion Pride. Who are the Lion Pride? If this is your first time, if you subscribe, you are part of the Lion Pride. So I want to take time and big up the Lion Pride. I'm getting direct messages, email, comments, ones are checking, and it's humbling. I'm going to be honest. We're setting out to build a community here in the virtual space. I've been advising my clients to do it for years, and very few listen. So I said, let me step out there, because I'm an artist. I said, let me step out there and do it myself and build a community, and it's very satisfying. Every creative, I'm advising to build your community, find the like minds, use the World Wide Web and join the family. I have to big up Kenya. Kenya right now is neck and neck with Jamaica as the demographic that watches the channel the most. Kenya family, please, someone from Kenya, because they hide them quiet, in the comments. Put something in the comments if you're watching this from Kenya, all of the Kenya family, please. The top three demographics, Jamaica's number one, Kenya, and then we have Ghana, and then the United States. These things make me feel idolful, family. May I tell the item the truth. But I want to just big up the item. Big up the Lion Pride on Patreon. The man them and the sister them who are investing in Ras Tafari independent non-aligned media. They're giving monthly. And I tell the item the only way that we can remain independent is through crowdfunding. The audience has to fund the work, because once you start depending on sponsors, that means that the sponsors going to have too much stock. You cannot stay truly independent because you're afraid that that check won't come. That's just human nature. If the audience is your funder, then you're accountable to your audience. And this is the future. This is His Majesty standing on the world stage talking about collective security. And the collective security of Zion must be implemented from the top, the emperor himself, down to the citizen, global citizen, because we have become the members of a new race. So crowdfunding is the future. $5, $10, $25, that is where it's at. Whatever you value, the content that we provide, just come in at that content. If it's $5 a month, that's all you can afford. You come on, do that, because Starbucks get that. Whatever you need, but we are building a Rastafari independent media empire ecosystem, but it's an empire at the same time. You understand? Why? Because we have to tell our own story. We have to own our own narrative. And my guest today is someone who is a filmmaker who is doing just that, creating her own narrative, demonstrating her own narrative. Before we bring the guest, let me just big up Ramia King Design, Ras Lidge. If you see me, I sip from the cup. This is a Rastafari business. Big up yourself, Russellage. Big up Seamas Life, the greatest Seamas drink I've ever tried. And I'm not just saying that because my brethren, Ross Wooley, big up yourself, Wally Kings. These are brethren and sistren who support I and I. I have on a crown right now from Dr. Wolete, one of our Lion Pride and Patreon. Mighty crowns that she makes, crochet, the Asian arts. So everything that we are doing, family, we are living this principle. Rastafari is a lived experience, and we want to emphasize that to the global family. So again, big up Kenya, big up Ghana, big up Jamaica, big up all of the ones and ones who will watch this on the replay. We know say is a great joy and strength. I want to also just take time, Washington, D.C. community, we celebrated the life of one of our sistren, Mama Spicy, Sister Pauline, Sister Annette, Brother John, who is the president of IDOR, the owner of Spicy Delight, his Queen Pass, this strongin, the entire Rastafari community in Washington, D.C., surrounding areas converged for the memorial, Naya Bingi chanting, and it was very touching, you know what I mean? And we just want to take some time and remember this sister, because when she left this physical plane, she was in the process with her kingman of returning to Ghana. We bought land in Ghana together. The first time she ever went to Africa, she went with I and I Queen, 2007. And she was able to return to Ghana to purchase land, to touch on the land, and so she was in process, and then life took another turn. So we want to just take the time and remember Mama Pauline, sister, Sister Spicy. So we give thanks. All right, so that's just the housekeeping. We start these lives, we have to touch base with the audience and make ones know what go on, because we are a family. We are one family. And I feel the same way about I guess. I was reasoning with her right before we went live and realized it's coming up almost on 2 decades since I've known this sister. She attended Howard University, my alma mater. We met in that days. I was no longer there. She was there. We, have had the honor and the privilege to interact over the years, and she was one of the calls that I made when the Association of Rastafari Creatives went from thought to manifestation. She was one of the early calls. She's one of the founding members of the Association of Rastafari Creatives. She's a filmmaker. She's an actress, a very good one. She's a screenwriter. She have so many accolades. She can sing too. I don't even know if she touched them thing there again, but she can sing too. Granddaughter, the legendary and iconic Bob and Rita Marley. Lion Pride family, please help her to welcome Sister Donisha Prendergast. And I, sister, royal greetings.
Greetings.
Yes. Yes.
Greetings. Wow. You age me. You're aging us there now. A lot of people still think that I'm in my 20s,
Aile, you see?
Can you imagine?
I'm telling you, and you look like you're in your 20s, so whatever you're doing, you know what I mean? You're doing the right thing, and we have to celebrate that.
Right, it's true. I have to give thanks, just continue smile. Smile a lot, meditate deeply, but, joy is also the rebellion. That's what I've been telling people.
Zion, you have to light like a feather for you enter. Don't feel like just because you touch the physical soil of Africa that you enter into the holy gates. The gates is physical and metaphysical, So All right, this is Lion Talk Live. I don't, because I'm very comfortable with my sister. Talk to us about who you are, where you were born, and your journey to Rastafari. You made a film about it. It was so powerful. But just for those who are not familiar, just introduce yourself. We're going to step into the Lion Talk Live time machine, and you just give us that experience of who the I is from manifestation.
Wow. So that's a long conversation there. It's a long reasoning. As I said, I feel like I've lived so many different lives, you know. I grew up in Jamaica. I was born in Jamaica, born in Kingston, Jamaica. Moved both my parents. I don't know where exactly do I start with this conversation. Like, I'm the eldest of four with both of my parents, and then my parents separated, divorced, and I have two other younger sisters.
And just let them know who your mother is and your father, because they are also notable Africans.
Absolutely. My father's name is Rita Prendergast. He's an international FIFA referee, well, retired international FIFA referee, but he is best known as the first FIFA referee from Jamaica to represent at the World Cup. Right now, he trains a lot of the referees and other officiants that play at the during the World Cup. My mom is an educator. She's best known for being a part of Ziggy Marley and the Melody Makers. Her name is Sharon Marley. She's also an educator, an activist in her own right. She's also a doula, midwifery, that kind of thing. And she's also the eldest of her generation. So
yes,
hear that. So I grew up in Jamaica. I went to one of the best high schools in Jamaica. Shout out Campion. I know them usually say
another campionite. I have so many campionites on this program, I tell you.
Well, I mean, excellence, what can we say? Excellence. Excellence. Yeah. No, them usually say Campionites are stush. But I never considered myself to be one of the stush kind. I was always the rebellious one in the pagodas, having reasonings about what was going on in the world. You know what I mean? After I left Campion in fifth form, I went to pre-university. And before pre-university, I went to a private school for a year. And during that time, I was a part of the fundraising committee that year for some programming. And the principal, they usually do a barbecue. And I said to her, it's kind of boring. Why don't we do something more interesting? Some kind of random show, I'm sure the parents would come out. And she's like, no, we do barbecues. It's safe. And whatever she said. And I was just like, well, with all due respect, I am the head of the fundraising committee. So I think that this would be really empowering for the students, whatever it is. And she said, no, it's not going to work. And I said, okay, cool. Watch this. And I was like 17 at that time. And I wrote a play. I directed, starred, and produced a play named Punchinella, a Jamaican Cinderella.
Wow.
And it was my first time recognizing that I had a talent to do not just one thing, but multiple things at the same time, So not only was I acting and writing, but I was producing the entire thing. And it was good practice. And it came out of rebellion, because she told me no, I was just like, don't say no. Don't say no. But after that, I shared time with another actress. It's like over 20 years ago, so now I'm really trying to remember this story. But I went to do my nails.
Yes.
Yeah, I went to get a pedicure, and a local actress was there, and I was really excited to talk to her and tell her about this thing that I just did. And she was just like, "Well, why don't you go and try out for a play?" I was just like, "Oh." She's like, yeah, they have auditions going. No, you can go to center stage. I was like, okay. And I did. I went. I left after school, left school early, went audition. I never thought much about it. And a few weeks later, they called me to tell me that I got the part. And I was just like, wow, okay. But rehearsals are during the day and I have school. So I'm just like, no, okay, how am I going to rock this now? All right. And for like 3 weeks, I left school early to go rehearse. And I didn't tell my parents. And I didn't tell my parents until it was about to come out in the newspaper that I was starring in a new play named Puppy Love. And, at this point, they were just like, okay, well, we have no options. Like, you sign a contract. Are you even 18 yet? Is this even legal? But my mother was just like, all right, you know what? I'm going to support. And that play ran for 2 years straight.
Wow. Okay.
And it was my first introduction to storytelling, storytelling live, working with other artists and understanding how art is really created. And growing up, I wanted to be a psychologist. So I kind of look at the work that I do right now, kind of like that too. Trying to understand people, trying to create space for healing, trying to create safe spaces for, emotionally intelligent conversations. So that's like, where am I now? I'm up to like about 18, 19, 20.
18, 19. And I want to just say that there is one of the most creative beings that I know. I know a few brethren and sisters like that are just pure creatives. You know what I mean? Just in everything. And it explains the activism, and we'll touch just briefly because yes, your story long, even though you're young. You know what I mean? Your story is very dynamic, but I just wanted to tell the eye that to the eye face in terms of your creativity. You know what I mean? It's just that it's everything about the eye is within that creative lens. You know what I mean? And I know that's challenges because I suffer from some of the same affliction as the eye.
Yeah.
Everything you see, you see all of the possibilities, and then you have the ability to implement, and then you just, you know what I mean? So I know how the eye, but continue.
Yeah, trust me, it's just like that. Respect for that, Kwasi, because it's hard. Like when trying to explain to people, when people ask, so what do you do?
Yes.
I'm just like, what do I do today? Or like, how do I say this that it doesn't take up like too long, because it's really hard to just define myself in a few words. There's so many chapters in my life.
Yes.
So what I kind of just say right now is like, I'm just responding.
Yes.
I'm responding to life as it comes. I'm creating as it comes. I'm trying to tell and preserve stories.
Very key.
I remember when I just started acting, they used to call me an entertainer. Whenever they put my name in the papers, whatever, they would say entertainer. I never liked it. I was just like, I'm not a gesture in anybody's court.
Yes, yes.
People call me an entertainer. Like you might find entertainment from what I'm doing, but especially when I started to really understand the process of acting and what it really is, it's not just performance. It literally is like channeling. Like you have to empty yourself to become a vessel to tell a story.
Yes.
And so the story now becomes a memory, and it activates other thoughts. And there's a whole other respect that I have for actors that is not entertainment.
It's true.
It's
powerful, and it's part of our African story, because we always were in the village telling these stories. We had people that were acting them out. This is how we preserve culture. This is how we educated our youths, so it's built into our DNA. Talk to us about your first film, A Rasta's Journey, because I usually ask my Rastafari guests what their journey was to Rastafari, but I actually made a film, about it. And that was one of the seminal moments, in even knowing the eye and seeing the eye go around the globe to promote. And I know that was a massive overtaking. So talk to us about that journey.
Well, Rasta Soul's Journey, we started shooting that film in maybe 2007 or 2008. But before we even reached there, after I left stage in Jamaica, after being on stage for like 4 years straight, so between 18 and 22, I'm on stage acting.
Okay.
I'm everywhere. Billboard, bus back, everywhere. And as a young person, I had a car accident, and after that car accident, it really kind of just humbled me to redirect this idea of celebrity or platform, and it became a lot more personal. So I, I stopped trying to pursue a career. I realized no, in reflection, I stopped trying to pursue a career and just tried to be an artist. So anyways, I went to Howard University, HU, and that's where that's where we met during that time where
Yes.
at Howard, which was a very powerful time in my story too, because this is me living in America for the first time, like living. Travel to America all the time, stay there, but now living on my own in a different city than the rest of my family, and just realizing that Washington D.C. is like a big ghetto.
Yeah, because that was right before the gentrification.
Right.
Time that it never fully set in yet.
No, and so like being on the outside, you think Washington D.C., White House, like people in necktie and whatever it is, and I'm just like, bro, there's so much culture in the city, like go what? All right, okay, like there was a whole other thing that was happening, and that's when I really started to understand a little bit of the dynamics between like Black Americans, and like people coming from the Caribbean,
Yes.
coming from Africa. Like the diaspora is in this, and it's my first time.
There's no better place than Howard University to experience diaspora. You know what I mean? Because you see Black people from all over creation.
All over. And that started to give me a little bit more insight into the psychology again of the diaspora, and realizing that we in ourselves are so diverse, and that needs recognition and space to talk about the similarities and the differences and the history that we've inherited, that it's so hard to talk about sometimes, So going to Howard for a few years, I met one of my best friends, Falani.
Big up Falani, big up the gardener, the farmer.
Okay. And Idor, connecting with Idor, and like just seeing Ras Tafari exist in a different way, because it's not how it exists in Jamaica. Idor is a proper organization, not to discredit any other organization, but just seeing how organically it came together and how structured it was, and the principles being so accessible, because sometimes with Jamaica there's a little bit of, if your head don't cover, you can't come in here, or and these things, I get it, but you're also excluding people at the same time, and creating unnecessary emotions for enemies. Through that. So going to Howard, then I had an experience in South Africa with my grandma during Africa Unite.
Okay.
This is in 2007 now. And that kind of, again, redirected the trajectory of my work, because I came into contact with young people from the continent who were challenging me to do more. And they weren't trying to challenge me like do more. They were just like, yo, we're so inspired by what you're doing, like what you're saying here right now. Like, so what are you doing? And I was just like, I'm at Harvard, I'm a student, a class on Monday, And I was just like, for real, what am I doing? And I left Howard and I went to film school in Miami. And this is where Patricia Scarlett, I come in contact with Patricia Scarlett, who wants to do a documentary about Rastafari around the world. Okay. And we go on this journey to 8 countries around the world to learn about the roots and the evolution of Rastafari. So even my own evolution as a young woman, like I showing you like my artistry, my art, and also like me. Um, it was my first time traveling so far by myself with
Yes.
nobody from my family and not on a tour. Like we're not going for no music. Like I'm going to know research and engage and like I'm in my early 20s at this point, you know. So this was very eye opening because going to places like even Israel that's so hot topically right now, and seeing that there was so much reggae music that was happening there, and not really understanding like how does that really work? And the same thing with India, going to India and going and meeting the sadhus, going far up in Varanasi and going by the river Ganges and learning the history of the word ganja and even the history of my own name, Donisha. In,
Wow.
in my name, Donisha is the word Nisha. And Nisha in Sanskrit means the transition between dark and light.
Okay.
So it's like twilight time, like that's magical time.
Yes.
So
And for those who are not familiar, because people would be marveling that you come from the Marley family, which is most known from Rastafari, but you're having this journey to Rastafari. And this is something that we talk about on this channel in terms of second generation. We're having this discussion about second generation. And what we're realizing is that, I mean, we know this, but it's an inborn concept. You can't, you can't pass it from parent to child. Each person has to have that experience on their own to really fully be Rastafari, and we are seeing that. And I had that journey. I recommend the film to everyone, and we'll talk about how they can access the I ecosystem and support the I ecosystem. So tell us about what it was like growing up in the shadow of probably the most prominent Rastafari family, because this ties into our topic, which is your grandmother being honored. But what was it like, as a child, and you have always been very outgoing. You're the most accessible of the entire family to the Rastafari community. But how was that growing up with such a name over your head?
well, whenever I became conscious of how large the name was until like maybe like 9 or 10, maybe 11. You know,
Okay.
I no 9, and it was my best friend. I had a best friend, and we were just best friends for like about 2 years. She had come from Miami, lived in Miami, came down to Jamaica, went to school for 2 years, and I got in trouble the day in the principal's office. So I was tasked to take her around and teach her about the
Yeah.
school. That's how we became friends. But she had never come over to my house before. So it's like after being best friends for like 2 years, and one day she came over to the house and like she walked in and she saw like all of the pictures of my grandparents and my family and like all of the awards and stuff like that. And she was so upset with me. She's like, "Why didn't you tell me that your family were the Marley family?" And I was just like, "What you like? What? Like why does it matter?"
Yeah,
And
yeah.
she genuinely thought that I didn't tell her this because I didn't trust her. I didn't think that she was going to treat me like a normal person or
Wow,
whatever.
wow.
I didn't understand that, you know? So it wasn't something that we grew up with an awareness with, like, this was so different from anybody else's reality. Like, we just know that this is our life. We're going on tour or we're going to the studio. Mom may have rehearsal until X amount of time. And
Hmm.
we're at the museum, that the museum became a house, a yard to us. So,
Yes,
like,
yes.
even though all of my family, any permanent address is the 56 Hope Road because it's the only address that we've all ever known, you know?
Wow. The
So,
first time I ever got to the museum, it was because of the eye. You know what I mean? The first time I ever stepped on that premises. So the eye really opened it to the community. You know what I mean? Rastafari Youth Initiative Council.
Yeah.
I want to go into some of your works too, because some people don't know Donisha. I was talking to Rasta today, Life Yard, and him said for heal the eye, they don't the eye is in the trenches for real, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Around the world. I talk a lot. I'm excited, sorry, but talk to us about some of that work that you have done, you know what I mean? With that name, carrying that burden, why the work?
Well, it's as much as it is a burden, yes, is a shadow, yes. It also, I don't know, there's just something mystical about all of it. You
It's a
know,
blessing.
all of it. There's just something very mystical about all of it. Because I'm a woman.
Yes.
And I'm the eldest of my generation.
Yes.
Universe set it that way, and universe set it that my grandfather blood don't physically run through my veins, but anytime people see me, that's the first thing that them think.
Yes.
But like within these days now, I realize that I think I've been doing my grandmother a disservice by not telling people to call me Rita Marley's granddaughter.
Yeah.
You know?
This is what we're gonna touch on now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you talk about like why, I think identity is also a part of this. Like just trying to understand as a young person, okay, well, this is how I grow. Like when you grow me, tell me that we're a soldier in your army and your work will come. So when my work come out, I'm prepared. But within all of that too, you have this big responsibility, but then you're also an individual who's growing in the world, and then you realize that the world that you grew up in is a small microcosm of like a bigger world, and so like navigating all of these spaces and like being the eldest. So like there's not no real point of reference per se. So for me, that's one of the reasons why I think I've been so accessible, because like I also want to encourage and create context for the fact that this is still African liberation that we're seeking,
Yes.
and so let us not ascribe to these ideas that have been systematically created about celebrity. Like we're storytellers, and the role of storytellers in the community is to preserve stories and carry on culture and this kind of thing. And so like for me, like I also want audiences to realize that you're not really audiences. Like you have work to do. This is the inspiration, the spark. Let's get back to work. Let's not get too soaked into this thing. And the word Babylon, sometimes, especially coming from the Rasta man, people automatically are like, oh yeah, hear the Rasta them know with this Babylon thing. But like, check it out. You live from, you start go school from your what, 4 until you're like in your early 20s, and then you start work for Babylon from your early 20s till you're in your late 60s is when people retire.
Yes, 60, 65.
Yeah, and then you have a few 10 other good years if you was eating good
Yes.
to live. So this is what we've inherited, and we're just on the treadmill. So anyways, that is totally diverging from what we were saying.
Oh,
The reason
but
why I do this work too is my grandmother. Like I grew up and I saw her doing this work. I saw her doing this work that I'm doing right now. This same exact work that I'm doing right now. The more
yes.
I do it, the more I realize that this is exactly what my grandma was doing. That's why I say I feel like it's a disservice to not say Rita Marley's granddaughter, because this is she grew this one.
Okay. Okay. And when was the first time that you recognized that your grandmother was Rita Marley, not just Nana or family, but when did that realization come?
I'm still realizing that no. Because she's always been grandma, like it's grandma and you just know grandma, but now like I'm understanding why it is important for me to recognize her outside of just grandma. Need
Yes.
to recognize her as Dr. Alpha Rita Marley. Even when people start to say Rita, I have to correct them and say, yeah, no, Dr. Rita Marley or Mrs. Marley. You know,
Okay,
like
Dr. Rita Marley. Okay.
yeah, or
And
Mrs.
then doesn't she have a OD or something as well too?
Enough of them. OD, LITT, enough of them. You know, not enough, but enough of them. And
Yes,
that's
yes,
nice. That's nice to see that finally people are recognizing and qualifying the work that she's done, because a lot
yes.
of it may seem to be intangible, you know, because like me, my grandma creates spaces. Like my grandma is kind of almost like a social scientist too. You
Yes.
know, in doing this exhibit that we'll talk about, I've really been considering and kind of writing a bit around Rita Marley's impact as a Pan-Africanist in the 21st century.
Okay.
And you know, we don't speak about my grandma like that, but now I'm understanding the value of qualifying her in those ways. Rita Marley as like a dynamic businesswoman.
Wow.
Yeah, because she's the one who founded Tough Gong, and she founded the Bob Marley Museum, and she founded the Bob Marley Foundation, and she founded the Rita Marley Foundation. Hey, who found this woman, man? Where this
No,
woman come from?
it's serious. It's serious. I also want to acknowledge my elder, Nana Faraika, who I saw this weekend. She tells I the story about the 1982 conference at the University of the West Indies, a famous Rastafari conference that took part, and that, you know, Nana Rita Marley stepped in at the last moment. They had, you know, funding was an issue, and
Yeah.
she gave a significant contribution, you know, to help the brethren and the sister. And that was the and the conference was actually called Rita, you know, which was the Rastafari International Theocracy Assembly or something like that. The ones can correct I in the chat, but you know, that was partly in recognition for the contribution that she gave. So this is not a new thing in terms of Nana Rita, and a lot of ones are not aware that over the years, you know, quietly as well, you know, ones from the community have gone to link Nana Rita, particularly Sistren. You know, a lot of the Sistren I know have, or the eldest Sistren I know have personal relationships, and they have given testimony. Talk about, you know, did you see that part of her in terms of her interacting with the Rastafari community as growing up?
Yeah, of course. You know, of course. My grandmother's a Rasta woman, you know. My grandmother wake up in the morning from like 4:30, 5 o'clock to go and rise with the sun, and then she go and run the hill. And when she done run the hill, we have to go over to waiting in the Bob Marley Beach to go run the beach, and then up a Cane River to go wash with dreads. Like these are real experiences that we have, you know. And then when we're done that now, we have to go next day now, we have to go market.
Okay.
Market. And then we also have to go church. We have to go to the Orthodox church. You would better wake up early. No, you can't eat nothing until after prayers and food served. And so, you know, we grew up with that. We grew up with so much lessons, you know, like even growing up with Abba, Abuna Yishak. Baptized all of us. You know,
Okay.
I was always at my grandma's house, or even in New York, whenever we used to go to New York, we used to go and look for Abba too. So my grandma always tried to make sure that we had access to the community in ways that she could, while she had, you know, we never used to go and do no 3-day bingy. That wasn't an opportunity that we had, because my grandmother also didn't necessarily always have those opportunities.
Yes.
You know, and then my uncles at that time are touring, and so they also have very limited opportunities to engage in that way. So how I was able to first engage with the Rastafari community is primarily through my grandma. Yeah.
Give thanks. So in terms of the musical legacy of Rita, you know, One Jaw, some big song, after in her own right, she was a great musician. Talk to us about that aspect of her greatness.
Grandma has been singing long before my grandfather, long before she met my grandfather. My grandma comes from a family of musicians, Andersons. Leroy Anderson is her father's name, and he was a saxophonist. So he was a traveling musician, which is how he is said to have met Aunt Vida, my grandma's mom, my great grandmother in Cuba while traveling. He also has kids in Sweden. So he
Okay.
had been traveling for my grandma's, the majority of my grandma's life. My grandma used to sing like church and those things, but her first time really singing was for a competition where she convinced her cousin them to come sing to, and they won.
Okay.
And then we know is when they realize that them have talent. So she go back and she asks auntie to make some outfit for them to go and do our next one. And this is how the Solettes came to be, just by trying. It's not to say that she wanted to be a singer. It's just like, oh, I have this talent. I love doing this. It brings me joy. Let's do it together.
Hmm.
So when my grandparents met, my grandmother had already had the Solettes from early, and she transitioned to singing with my grandfather, and eventually she continued singing by herself too with the Solettes while she was singing with my grandfather for a while. And then eventually when he asked her and sister Judy and sister Marcia to sing as the I3, she kind of just transitioned into that.
And one of the powerful things about the story is that it's recorded that your grandmother is the one who brought Bob to Rastafari,
Yeah.
Uh, so that spark, one of the most renowned Rastafari in creation, Honorable Robert Ness Marley, he gets his introduction from this black woman of the earth, Nana Rita. So what you're saying makes a lot of sense.
She my grandmother was a safe space for my grandfather to be able to flourish and thrive, which means that she gave up a lot of her own safe space to create a safe space for him because of the work and what he represented for the world.
Mm,
Right? She was a light source
yes.
for him, like, and still is. Because if my grandmother could have decided that she wanted to flip the switch and just go live in Europe somewhere, she never did that. She pick up herself and go to Africa by herself.
Yes.
By herself. And when I say by herself, I mean she had ones around her, like Fire, who came with her from Trenchtown days and stayed in Africa and continued to keep the space alive even after she had her stroke. But call the name of the artist them
Hmm.
who have done that work, who have lived up to that calling, that responsibility, that ability to respond.
Talk about that part of the legacy because she was in Ghana early. The first time I went to Ghana was 2005, and the Rita Marley, the studio was already there, big and brawling. You know what I mean? So she was there from very early. Talk about that part of the chart.
Yeah, Africa is not a bed of roses.
No.
That's what I hear my grandmother say. In my upcoming documentary, 50 Days in Africa, we got a chance to interview her in Ghana, in the space that she had built. And, she was really transparent in a way that I hadn't experienced her to be before regarding the challenges of moving back home and, creating space and foundation. And these conversations are very important because those are our aspirations, right? It's it took a lot for her. Like she built the studio, and the day that they're opening the studio, there was some electrical malfunction in the main studio on the master board, and the studio burned down.
Wow.
studio burned down, and there were like a bunch of students who were there to do tours, and she was hoping to like make albums with the students, and grandma visionary.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it didn't just burn down like new concrete, it burnt down with like relics, like stuff that
Wow.
my grandma had brought from Jamaica and repatriated to Ghana, and so like
Wow.
just lots of things. And she just said, "We'll do it again. We did it before. We'll do it again." And that kind of will and just we will not be defeated is something that I definitely have taken from her and wanted to continue to preserve. Because the work that she's doing in Africa is to try to create a space for more understanding to overstanding
Yes.
of how we can work together. And the difference is like I'm talking about. The difference is that we have to negotiate like quick beeline. But a few years ago, I went and I shot a film at the Castle, the
Yes.
dungeon. And after I shot the film, I got the chance to screen it to some artists during a festival in Ghana called Chalewote.
Yes. Big festival. Big festival.
It's a big art festival. Myself, my husband, and his writing partner were invited to go, and we created this film in a few days, edited it in a few days, and like presented it. And we're surrounded by artists and academics and intellectuals and this kind of thing, and we're showing the film about me taking a journey from the diaspora to come to the continent and engaging with the idea of African liberation and this kind of thing. And they were really confused as to why it is that I call myself African. And that was very shocking and jarring for me because naturally I have to find a way to deal with it gracefully. But you're saying like, Jano, like, wow, I didn't realize that this was a thing. Like
Wow.
a real thing, like, and then when I go further into it, I hear them call me a brony. And that's
Oh.
they also call the white man a brony.
Yes.
You check into the history of the word obroni, it means stranger that came from beyond the sun.
Oh, wow.
So a brony, like a white man, is a stranger that came from beyond the sun. But I'm not a stranger. We're not strangers that came from beyond the sun. We're your children who were sold into slavery by your ancestors too, like our ancestors, as a business trade. Like, so saying all that to say that there has not been a word identified for us, for the ones who were taken away or the ones who are coming back home. There isn't a local word in Ghanaian language for that. And that to me, I like when I learned that a few years ago, I really started to think about my grandmother because I'm just like, Jano, so what really has been her experience these past 30 years?
Yes.
This work by herself, being misunderstood as an obroni, and coming with this big name and coming by herself and all these kind of things. So, it's been very challenging, but it's been important. This space that she's created for Jamaicans to also come home. Like we took over the mountain now. The mountain is just it's Jamaicans live on the mountain now. It was just one mommy and grandma, and then now,
I have land in that same mountain, so you know, give thanks. I'm a direct beneficiary. You know what I mean? And those who have been to Ghana know Abri is now prime real estate. You know what I mean? That whole area right there. And it has one of the largest diaspora out of any place in Ghana, because most of the ones return, they want to be up on the mountain, cool, across, very hot. So Nana Rita now is already a pioneer just in that. But then there's so many aspects, as you say, the business aspect, because even before you just said it, you know what I mean, I had to I know the history, but I never really put her, you know what I mean, I have to be honest, I think more about the musical legacy and the matriarch of the Marley family. But you're right, in terms of business, is she really secure the Marley legacy upon a business? Because we have seen where an artist dies or a creative with a name dies and the estate is not prosperous, you know what I mean, because of the business aspect. But she has managed, and ones have all kind of comments in the community. However, we cannot deny that the name and the brand is global, you know what I mean, and the
I
value.
mean, locks. So much ones I've so much things to say in the community. I mean, yo, when I really check it out, like my grandmother was 30 years old when she got shot in her head.
Wow.
30, just 30 years old when that assassination attempt was made. She was 36 when 35 when my grandfather passed away. So like, this is a young person still, and having to manage so much and doing such an amazing job at it with no support and so much criticism. I'm just like, yo, who made the fabric of this woman?
Wow.
Really check it out, and then she's dealing with all of this emotional stuff so gracefully. I've never seen my grandmother talk the way how I talk sometimes. How I get so impassioned.
Yes.
Well, see, and she just, so yeah. This is the time that I have to speak up for her. I was talking to Falani a few months ago, actually, and Falani, we were saying, she was just talking about her grandma transitioning and being there physically during the transition, and just also like what came afterwards with the family, and like just how she would have wanted to honor her grandma, and how her grandmother would have wanted her, everything to go. And we just came up with the thought, like, what if we were our grandmas? But then we reversed that and said, what if our grandmothers were us?
Wow.
Like, our grandmothers were us in this day, had the tools that we have the ability to build platforms that we can. Like, what would they say? What would they do? How would things be different? And so, like, the thing just shift up a little differently now for me, especially when it come on to my grandma, because, like,
Yeah, man, mighty. Talk to us about this exhibition, because we were reasoning, and that is even how this interview or reasoning, because the reasoning came about is, just they are reflecting about, this milestone. And for those who are in New York and in the US, we're asking the family, go and support this exhibition. Talk to us about this exhibition that's happening.
This is exciting. It was also very challenging to do. I've never done a photo art exhibit before, but I just doing it, trying. Thank you for that. So it's called The Garden That Rita Grew, My Grandma Rita. This installation is called My Grandma Rita because it's from my perspective. And I chose to call it The Garden That Rita Grew almost as a parody on a poem that my great grandmother wrote called The House That Bob Built. So Mama B wrote The House That Bob Built. It's a really great poem that she used to recite often. But everywhere that my grandma goes, she plants. Like literally, she plants. Literally and metaphorically. Everywhere she's had a garden, guarded by two lionesses. So this is my way of trying to bring a little bit of focus and context to my grandma beyond her being a musician and beyond her being the matriarch, but as a grandmother, as as something that we relate to because of family. Like when you see the exhibit has generations of my family in there. It has my grandmother's great grandmother is in that exhibit, and that's the furthest that we've been able to trace our family lineage. So like for me, this goes beyond entertainment. This goes beyond a product. This is really about archiving in the Black family and how that happens and how we practice that and how we recognize value in the things that we hold as memories. And I have to give a big shout out to my uncle Wes, my grand uncle, my grandma's brother Wesley, who raised her, because if it wasn't for Uncle Wesley, a lot of these things would have been lost between us traveling, living in different houses over all of this time. He always has a camera on. He's always taking pictures. He's in his 80s now.
Wow.
Just to show you how long he's been documenting his sister. He has like written documents from when they were planning the studio in Ghana. Just so it took a lot to go through all of these archives and try to select images and thinking about how to curate this in a summarized way. But I really hope that people will take the time to reflect on their own families, using this as an example to show that all of our stories as African peoples within this time are of value. And it's important for us to archive for a future that we don't know anything about, and proceeds from this exhibit are going to support the development and the building of the Rita Marley Girls Center in Trenchtown, which is where my grandmother come from. And it's important again because whenever people think about Trenchtown, they think about my grandfather, but my grandfather didn't come from Trenchtown. My grandfather came from 9 Mile. His musical journey and the recognition start from Trenchtown, but for me, driving through Trenchtown and not seeing any images of my grandma and not seeing any representation of her, again, it's a disservice to the role and the place that she holds in this greater history,
It's true. And I give thanks. It's timely what the eye is doing, and by blocking these sound, I pray that someone will recognize Nana Rita in Trenchtown. And there's so much to say, because that men and balance, if we look at Baba as being that alpha, he had his omega to balance him on the battlefield, and a lot of brethren are lacking that balance right now. And I see those brethren right now that I see really striving and thriving are the brethren who have that balance. That's just the reality. Right now, the ones I see that in this Armageddon are still standing and being productive, to the liberty are ones who have that balance beside them to really balance. And Nana Rita is an example. What would you say to the young Rastafari sister? And I know there is close to your teenage years, and we get, we get, erase the first part of the video, just fast forward. I just look upon the beauty. But talk to us about, for young Rasta, because I get sounds from young Rastafari sisters who watch this platform. We have the most testimony of any platform of Rastafari women, and that's intentional. What lessons can they take from Nana Rita? I want the eye to just, for put, in your shoes as a young Rastafari sister coming up, you had the benefit of seeing it live, but what things can someone in Kenya, in Kabira, who's chatting up the liberty, learn from Nana Rita?
Yeah, there's a Rita Marley fan page that's on Instagram right now that is really like putting up a lot of beautiful work on my grandma, and I reached out to them because they're not a part of the family directory. So I reached out to them to be like, hi, can we talk? Because I need to know who is doing this. And it's a sister from Senegal who is living in France right now. And she said that she could barely really talk English very well. She was saying, when she started the platform, she started it in French because she's French, and she started it because she saw the movie. She saw One Love, and she was so inspired by grandma. She's always been inspired by grandma, but it's the first time she was seeing like something that really moved her, and she started to do some more research and couldn't find a collective space for like that told grandma's story in a way where she could just go and digest. So she created it. And I was so grateful to her for doing that, for creating that, because sometimes it's hard for you to be able to document your own story. Somebody has to help you to document it because somebody else is watching. Like, you're not watching yourself every day. Like, you're not watching you grow. You look at yourself in the mirror every day and you're just you. But so I was grateful for her for doing that. Um, yeah, so what to say to women all over the world? Rita Marley is a believer in herself
Hmm.
and
Yes.
a believer in intuition. She's a Jah-fearing woman, God-fearing, whatever words, Allah, all of the God them. She respects humanity and she's humble enough to know that collaboration is the only way to move things forward. She Today I was having a conversation and my manager reminded me that my grandma says that you have to take credit for your work because sometimes it's just like it's hard for you to say what you've done sometimes.
Yes.
You know what
Yes.
I'm saying, Kwasi? And somebody else needs to do it. So this is me giving an opportunity for my grandma to take credit for her work, to advocate for that to do. So for the young women out there, like take credit for your work, believe in that intuition, like follow the butterflies, chase them, become one if
Yes.
you need to, like break barriers and call yourself a queen first before you expect anybody else to do that. And
Hmm.
nobody's going to have the vision that you do. You just have to believe and know that and act confidently upon that and be graceful but defiant at the same time. And my grandma said to me one day when she saw me coming and I just looked distressed, like I can be sometimes classy when we're in the work, like just
Yes.
deep in the
Yes.
work, just fighting
Yes.
for breath, like
Yes. Yes.
you
Yes.
know. And she said to me, like I told them it looked so horrible, and she was just like, you don't always have to look like what you've been through.
Hmm. Hot.
I was just like, wow, okay. You don't always have to look like what you've been through. And like when I look at my grandma, she doesn't look like what she's been through,
Wow.
like
Assassination attempt, you say at 30.
30.
Wow. And then I look at the I3s, the grace, the femininity. We don't talk about the femininity of Nana Rita either. The
No, or the
gracefulness.
fashion icon that she is, the fashion icon that she is. Let's talk about the fashion for a second.
Yes. All right, please.
Yeah, like the ice trees. Remember, okay, let's think about what's happening in America at that time with music and what's happening in Jamaica. And so naturally, they're also inspired by the Supremes and those ones, but
Yes.
they're doing it in their Rasta Ital style. And
Yes.
they became the representation of a lot of the fashion that we see from the Rasta woman today. The I3s helped to define the fashion of the Rasta woman within that time to make it conscious and cool and royal and elegant,
Yes.
feminine
Yes.
and
Wow.
stylish.
We need an artist to bring, and all of the Rastafari artists that we have not seen our I3s forward again from that time,
No, they
because
have
it's as I get older that I appreciate love, the dress code, even though they weren't all Rastafari. I big up Mama Marcia
right.
and Mama Judy, but they were attired as I say, in them head wrap, them and them long skirt, ice cold and green, synchronized the step them. The little thing, what I mean? It was just so excellent, the
Yeah,
presentation.
all of it, and it was also a little bit rebellious too, because guess
Yes,
what? Like you see in the movie, you see that there's some little tensions happening between the man and the woman also trying to create space to be,
yes,
recognized. Like we're women, we don't have to be rough like the man, them, and this kind of thing. So all of those things as an adult now are really empowering to be able to observe and be like, wow, this is the history of what they did. It's not just
yes,
a story. This is the history, the fashion history,
yes,
what happened, qualify it in a different kind of way. And I have to shout out Dottie Bootman in this
yes,
moment too, because Dottie Bootman did that with the reggae revival.
yes, he
I
did.
know a lot of people have a lot of things to say about the reggae revival. I don't care. I don't
And
really
then I
care.
was there from early to. We have to touch upon some of the high grassroots work because nobody does. even I man I find out some of the things. But like I said, we had the Ras Tafari Youth Initiative Council. What were some of the other works that I did in the same vein as your grandmother? But talk about some of them early works there. I know your time is precious, so I'm trying to be respectful, but there's so much, so you have to allow me.
There's so much reasoning. I mean, some of the early works after so jumping back on the timeline from earlier, after I
Yeah.
did Rasta Soul's Journey, I was still in film school, and I came back to film school now after traveling the world, and was just like, what is, bro? And I had to do my thesis film, and I decided I was going to go to Jamaica and shoot it in Trenchtown. The story was
Okay.
about children playing in the streets. And it's about a young man who live in Trenchtown, and he's trying to get a scholarship to go abroad to school. His mother worked for uptown politician family, and some little mix up one. Anyways, long story short, want to shoot my thesis film in Trenchtown, so I'm coming down as a filmmaker now to Jamaica for the first time to go and experience this after seeing for myself that I can travel the world by myself. Now I don't need to go with no security to Trenchtown. And it was
Yes.
my first time understanding, like, my family come from Trenchtown. Like, it's not a story. Like, my mother born and grew in Trenchtown.
Yes.
It became a lot more. It became a lot more real to me.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
privilege that I grew up with as well, and understanding the platform, and just a lot of things were hitting me to the point where I didn't go back to school. I didn't finish school. I left school. Like, I left with the people and camera equipment for like 3 months in Jamaica because I was just rebelling. Like, I'm not going back to the classroom. Like, the earth
Yes.
in the classroom. Like, you guys want me to go back to do English electives being taught by a Spanish guy, bro. And this is
Yeah.
how I got to be in Jamaica as a filmmaker now, and like really understanding the roots of the why we tell stories.
Yes.
Stories are of value to tell, and that's why I never got into shooting commercials in Jamaica or anything like that, because like you can't pay me to, there's so much other things.
Yeah. 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 The story.
Yeah, Manifesto Jamaica became a vehicle for us as young people. And when I say us as young people, I'm talking about like Kabaka, who was the head of spiritual arts, Janine, who was the head of marketing, I think, like Leslie, who was the executive director, Dottie, a founding director, myself, like Protege, he was, on the move with us to like, Manifesto Jamaica is one of the first platforms. Like Chronics tell me, Nisha, you are the first person that put me on a stage and paid me. And
Wow.
when you think about history, this is the history of it. But when it's happening, you're just living and you're doing what you need to do. So Manifesto Jamaica became a vehicle for us as young people to not have to go work Babylon job. And though we were broke, we were
Yes.
inspired and we were collective, and we were finding ways to use our art as a tool for governance.
And Micah Shamaya big up the eye too. He said that the eye was the first one to put, the Jehovah Evil family, giving that story, said is the eye really opened the Bob Marley Museum and invite the ones them, and the first time they ever go up on a big stage is the eye, so I want to stress these things because the eye can't talk about this yourself, you just toot your own horn. But as I reason with the youths them, because I'm here documenting the stories and your name keeps coming up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh yes, said Nisha, boop, 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 and me have to tell you, say my little sister, that, you know what I mean? Me have to claim the eye because I just feel so proud of all of the works, you know what I mean? And then with Life Yard, talk to us about how that link was made. Was that the same manifesto link?
Yes, that's through working with Manifesto, and Life Yard presented themselves as a organization in the ghetto who was using art again to build out the thing, art as entrepreneurship and planting in the ghetto and creating models. And so naturally Manifesto as a structure would want to work with a life yard who is doing something innovative. And by collaborating, we were able to create more murals and create even more structure collectively, sharpen each other. And from there, did other programs. I know Leslie did a program called Jano, it slipped me right.
Big up lava every time.
Every
You
time
know.
she took on the responsibility of carrying it on when everybody was able to become artists and go build up our platform and go bust and all these kind of things. Leslie stood forward as the executive director of Manifesto Jamaica and still is, to make sure that
Yes.
the work continued beyond that, and it's sustainable. And that's one thing that as an organization and young people, we were challenged with trying to find a way how to make it sustainable. It's not a word that we think about when we're doing our programs and things like that, but it has to be, So Manifesto Jamaica created a platform for the reggae revival, and that's how this conversation started. I know I'm talking a lot now, and I have to wrap up soon, but Dottie did something that made us recognize that this was a movement.
Yeah.
Sorry, my son is taking a shower upstairs, so you might hear him there singing out in voice.
Your mother, all these things are so great to see the evolution, because if not for that, you would be all around the world taking on causes on the battlefield. When we talk about frontline battlefield angel, this is one of them. They, occupy pinnacle. So
Right.
I mean, we can keep on talking about the different works. And one of the things I told the I from early is always the importance of institutions and sustaining the movement, because we saw the energy, we knew where this was headed. And as we become older, we realize, I went through that, being a student at Howard, and we were back of field as young Lion, myself, Bingy Sean, whole heap of other brethren that they I know as well. And life starts lifing, you know what I mean? And you know what I mean, that is where I think we have to do a better job reaching forward to the younger youths now, so that we can give those the lessons. And that's why like Life Yard, I link with them brethren there. I'm trying to link with this platform with a lot of the younger races, you know what I mean, so that we can share the need. It's not Babylon to earn money and to have a staff and to have structure and to take notes and to take minutes. You know what I mean? Because guess what? The next people who come take over that role going need them minutes to know what the thing was doing and to be able to catch up. So some of these things that we say is Babylon. It's not Babylon, and when we look at how His Majesty built Ethiopia with 5-year plans, structure, discipline, we have to ensure that the youths them, don't try to bring laziness, or as I said, the loosey-goosey into Rastafari and try pass it off as irates. No, it's laziness. We have to have structure to build the iritical and the I. I know the I is at that phase now. Just based on our discussions, you have taken on many causes, but now you're taking more methodical time to kind of build your own ecosystem. And I really, it's a joy to see. Tell the people what you're doing now and how they can tap in. And this is just part one, family. We just part one. There's continuation. Because we could talk for 5 hours easy. You know what I mean? Because we don't touch the topics yet. We don't, we just touch the history.
Talking. You just asked me one question. You asked me to tell you about myself.
Yes.
We don't even start going to the details and the nitty gritty.
No, we don't touch that. This was really a tribute to Nana Rita. So, but tell the people how they can tap in, support. I have a thing here that we're trying to get once to circulate the Rastafari dollar, the Pan-African dollar. So let people know how they can spend with the I, how they can support the I movement, how they can join and build the I movement. That's one of the roles of Rastafari independent non-aligned media, is to connect with the workers, connect the audience to the workers, So just tell the people how they can plug in with the I.
All right. Well, it's going across the screen right now. You can follow me on IG at I am Donisha. You can check out the garden at Rita Brew, my grandma Rita. If you're in New York, if you have family who are in New York, one of the aims of the exhibit is to get 1,500 young people through the doors to be able to experience Rita Marley and to write reports, articles, create their own art. Just help to create some more content that can possibly help to build out some kind of curriculum about my grandma, about Miss Dr. Marley to get into the schools on a real level. Other ways you can support me, we have a documentary coming out soon. It's called 50 Days in Africa. Myself, Kelissa, and director Michael Kushner went to Africa, 6 countries, to learn and connect with artists on the ground and to look at the economic capacity of the creative industries and what collaboration can do to strengthen that. Other things that are coming right now, I'm writing. I have a lot of writing that is going on, and like I'm writing a story about Pinnacle.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a long time. Monty Howell has asked me to do this, so now I'm trying to put some time into making that happen. I don't have nothing to sell right
And that's a key story because Rastafari did not start as a poverty movement. I think we have to tell that story. And also, we were affected by a ganja raid. You know what I mean? That was the beginning of the poverty of the movement, started with a ganja raid. So this story, the Pinnacle story, is a Garveyite manifestation. It's so many things, you know what I mean? So it really, I'm excited about that. We have one of our Lion Pride here said, I will see how I can integrate this into my classroom. Big up yourself, you know. And also I may have to take up this curriculum undertaking. Okay, you see. So this is why it's so important to have these reasonings, because you don't know who's watching, who can be inspired, you know, what that spark is going to be. So it's really beautiful to have the idea, his family there. I know that years and years, works after works, and we're still just getting started. That is the beautiful thing, you know what I mean? We don't start nothing yet. So any final sound to the family globally before we seal up?
Right. I don't. There's so much things to say. I don't know if this can be a final song. Jamaican people. When our goodbye long, we take long to say goodbye. Our goodbye long. Yeah.
My children don't like I for that. My children don't like I for that.
My gosh, you just have to know that is that because we said by here, so then we have to go to the door, and then we have to go stand up by the car, and then when you go into the car, you close the car door, you have to stand up by the window now. Look here though. Yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to touch back on Pinnacle for a second.
Yes.
Pinnacle is a very passionate topic for me. I really want to implore us to look deep into the story of Pinnacle according to the timeline of history, so we can understand what Pinnacle represents in the bigger context of African liberation. I want us to zone out of just Rastafari, just it being labeled as a Rastafari village or the birthplace of the Rastafari movement, and look at it as the first place in Jamaica after emancipation where ex-slaves were able to leave off of the plantations on their free will to go up into the mountains to explore what freedom looked like organically, without no structures, no systems, just guidance and healing. So, it must be studied. It must be documented in these ways. Just like how I said earlier, what role has Rita Marley played as a Pan-Africanist in the 21st century? What role did Pinnacle play, post-emancipation in the context of African liberation? And then that way we'll start to really see how we can archive our story, our Black story, our family's history, in ways that I think that we kind of small up right now because we think we're small, or
Yes, it's true. It's true because we didn't even touch Africa Unite in Ethiopia, which had a profound effect that Nana Rita spearheaded. We didn't even touch that.
the ripple. We have to touch that for a second because Africa Unite again. Like honestly, Kwasi, I hope every every Pan Africanist, it gets to experience something like that. Every person of African descent gets to experience something like that. Just the inspiration and the ability to know that you have access to leaders of African nations, as well as business people with money, as well as like-minded people, as well as people who want to come forward with something. It was such an awesome space to dream, to envision, to network, the possibility that came from it, and the seeds that were planted are, see me here, I'm one of those seeds. I'm one of the seeds that was planted in Africa. Unite, 100%. And I really hope that this kind of energy is something that we can continue to maintain, because my grandmother put a lot of her own money into doing it and to sustaining it. And
Yes.
it's hard to be able to do that, but this is something that our communities need, to keep the vision focused.
Is a great legacy. Big up Mama Desta, who was part of that journey too. It was a great because I remember that DVD. Back I'm dating myself, but that DVD had so much vibes. You know what I mean? That was one of the DVD where I had in heavy rotation. The early days. You know what I mean? Just all of the African leaders, the musicians. They had symposiums, you know what I mean? And then, it was so powerful.
Yeah.
The presentation in Moscow Square, you know what I mean? The Ethiopians, I think it probably was the largest gathering since coronation, international gathering.
Like BBC reported like almost 300,000 people or something like that, but
wow,
I'm pretty sure it was close to 1 million people because like you couldn't see nothing but people. You couldn't see nothing but people. It was so, and to know that it's a little black girl from Trenchtown, what them used to call Blackie people, could have the gall, the audacity, to think that she could go to the oldest nation in the world to be like, yes, you know what? For Brother Bob's birthday, we're gonna do this. And that was all her vision. And you know what she did? She just made it into my grandfather's birthday celebration. She never take no credit. She was just like Africa, and I have to humbly just be like, yo, all right. She never have to do that. She never have to do that. She could have cock up her foot and put on days of her life.
Yes. No, that is why when I said you wanted to honor Nana Rita, because it's someone I always had a maximum respect, as I said, just from sister and I know who know her personally always. I met her only one time at the Smithsonian when they had the Ras Tafari exhibit. I met her and Ziggy had come up, and that was the only time I physically met her. But I always admire the works because I know so much of it was not public. You know what I mean? So much of the work has not been publicized. So for the eye as a granddaughter, I really commend the eye to highlight her, and so many sisters, I think, will be inspired by what the eye is doing and by Nana Rita and even by your mother. The lineage comes straight because we cannot forget your mother as well. You know what I mean? And I really commend the eye mother, what she has done as a mother with the eye. Can you just touch really quickly? I know you have to go. But you just touch very quickly because your mother has, she's forward with some music and thing. I want to give her a highlight before you try to.
and I will let her know that Lion's Voice Network want to have a reasoning with her.
Ah, you see it,
That
you
was
see it. That
beautiful.
would be a great
Yeah,
honor.
beautiful. Yeah, my mom is doing more music again now. And it all started as a way to preserve my grandma's voice. Like one year, maybe like 4 years ago now, 3 years ago. She recorded a song 4 years ago. She recorded a song for my grandma's birthday, called "Just One More Morning." And after she recorded it, well, it was just one take, and Auntie Sidela was just like, "Okay, it's done." And Mommy was just like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Yeah, we got it." And Mommy was just like, "Okay." And then Grandma listened to it, and Grandma loved it. And Grandma was saying, "Need to do a music video. I need to do a photo shoot." And remember that Grandma used to be the first manager for Ziggy Marley and the Melody Makers, right? So
Okay,
Grandma is
okay.
manager. She
That's
know what.
another part of the works we don't touch. You see, so
Yeah,
it's so vast.
yeah. She was a manager for Ziggy Marley and the Melody Makers, and other artists too. Remember that she used to manage Tough Gun, so she used to
Yeah,
distribute music and
yeah.
all this kind of thing.
The
So
businesswoman.
full businesswoman. So she's like, "No, Sharon, you need to whatever." So mommy calls me, and mommy is like, "Okay, Grandma, I love the single." She's thinking that we should shoot a music video. And I had just had Kitai. Kitai was just a few months old at this point, my son. And
Yes.
I'm like, all right, okay. So we got the chance to shoot a music video with my son on my hip, and my mom and my grandma. So that's like 4 generations of us creating this piece of art. It was so special for me because like my mom is singing the song that my grandma sang, and I'm now shooting the music video, and we shot the music video at my grandmother's house, and piece of it was shot in my grandmother's orchid garden, and so grandma got to select and produce, and so it was really such a wholesome experience, and I think that song and experience defines this time in my mom's life and what she's doing right now with music. It was inspired by my grandma and finding a way to preserve my grandma's voice, and in that she found her voice again too.
Wow.
Something
Wow.
really really beautiful and powerful, because for a long time, like if you listen to the majority of my grandfather's songs, my grandma is on them. She's on
Yes.
almost every single one, but people don't hear her. They hear him.
Yes.
And I just want to remind people that she's there too. And so this is a way of bringing her voice back by mommy singing her grandma's songs and singing my grandfather's songs, but singing it with her voice. So like it's also poetic. This moment here of my mom going back on the road to sing again and rediscover her voice and help to uplift grandma's voice. And my mom is the one who is championing the development of the Rita Marley Girls Center in Trenchtown.
Okay.
So
Beautiful.
it's so for me this is bigger than the Marley family and all of this kind of thing. This is really about a family honoring our our matriarch, and we encourage others to be inspired by that to honor your own grandmas too.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Give thanks, family. So there you have it.
Yeah.
Um, this is part one of Donisha. She is a sister of the channel. She will be forward because we don't scratch the surface. We don't go deep yet. You know what I mean? We just prepare the soil. We don't even go down to plant the full seed. And this will happen in successive um and things, and even in person, because I have to sit up with my sister too and we do that too. So I want to just give thanks for the eye taking your time. I know you're extremely busy. So just taking your time on this work, and we will make sure that we continue to let ones know about this exhibition. When does it seal up?
It seals up on October the 7th. And again, what people can expect is a photo exhibit as well as art that we commission from a number of different female visual artists who have created work from an Afrofuturist lens as well as a surrealist lens, looking at
Okay.
my grandma and the work that she has done. The garden that Rita grew, my grandma Rita.
So yeah, man. So we will make sure that the Lion Pride who are in America, who are in New York City, go and check it out. Let them know you're here from the Lion Voice. Make our presence be felt. All of the family, we give thanks, and we want to just say that the time has come for the Lions to tell our own story, and this is the Lion Voice. Ilai Selassie the first.
Now the time has come for the lion to tell his own story. Yeah, the one them called Celestial I represent for the mighty lion voice. And this a shook up your planet tectonic. As me sip up my roots and tectonic. And you can't make me jump nor get panic. Of the engine a run like mechanic room.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes. Wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega representing for all lions and lionesses. With the lion's voice, we come to tell our story. Ras Tafari, live it. Hey, the lion's voice. Ras Tafari.
It's AWTITUDE representing for Lion's Voice. Yes, massive. This is the time for I and I, the lion them to tell I and I story, our story. Yes? And we reign and rule like this. Reign and rule, yeah. Selassie, I reign and rule. You can't take the lion vibes, people. If you no fool, cause we no Selassie reign and rule. Reign and rule. Selassie, I reign and rule. Queen Omega drop them in the fire, pull from them, no Queen Omega, she reign and rule. Royal Kushite, ancient essence, Emperor Selassie in a majestical presence, flash of all sevens, projecting through I and I events. We sing a song for the king, we bring joy and blessing and overstanding, yeah. We hear Jah every day. Reign and rule, yeah. Selassie, I reign and rule. Yes, I lion vibes, Selassie, I reign and rule. Attitude say that Boondocks, Black Organization of Noble Diplomats optimizing expressions to the world. Till the world, till the end.
Amina, the time has come for the lioness to tell our own story. No surrender, no retreat, we are Jaja soldier. Rougher than the streets, tougher than a boulder. Bigging up Lamb's voice. Now put it, I Jollifer said that.
Yeah, David Dread of Steel Pulse, and I'm saying hail to Lion Voice because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here. Hear me now. Yeah, the lion's voice. Raw.
Well, Lion Voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion Voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion Voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion Voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion Voice.